Wonderful. All right, well, welcome to Qigong. Today's class, we're still talking about Qigong for trauma healing, but we're going to focus heavily on rest and the ways that we cultivate peaceful sleep. So just kind of checking through the chat here, is anybody currently tired? Anybody tired? Raise your hand. Papa, yes. Just me, very always tired from work. I see an LMAO. Yes, I see a raised hand. So we're not, you're not alone. Yes, it is okay to be low energy in this class. Maybe I'll just start by normalizing different energy states. And it's the end of the day, y'all. And it's November. So if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling worn out, if you're feeling run down, you know what? You're in the right place. And this class is for you to refill your cup, gather as much rest as you can. And if you fall asleep during class, it's okay. Literally, it's fine. If you're yawning during class, that just means your nervous system is regulating. If you fall asleep, great, that's what you were meant to do. And there's always a replay. So I say that because it does happen. I'm told I have a very soothing voice, and people literally were like, I fell asleep 20 minutes in it. I'm like, congratulations. So that's a little bit about where we're going. But let me back up a little bit. I did ask for folks if this was their first time taking Qigong. So I'm going to bet this might be your first time as well. A lot of folks haven't experienced Qigong before. And there is kind of a conception that Qigong is for elderly folks. Has anybody ever gone to Chinatown, or maybe traveled in Asia, or just in parts of the city where there's a lot of elderly folks gathered, and they're all kind of doing push hands and very gently doing some Tai Chi movements? Has anybody seen that kind of out in life slash culture slash upbringing? Yes, love it. Yeah. So you see it around. I see Vanessa, I see Nikkei. I can't wait till it's our yay, and it is your turn. Someone says, I can't wait till it's my turn. And it is. So part of what folks are doing, they might be doing Tai Chi, but they might also be doing Qigong. As I mentioned before the class started, if you want a fuller breakdown of the history of Qigong, there's a separate class for that. But because today's the end of the day, I'm just going to keep it real concise and say Qigong is a embodiment practice that is over 4,000 years old. It comes from China. And Qigong has 3 elements to it, which I like to highlight. One is that it's for healing. 2 is that it's for self-defense. And the third is it's about spiritual connection. So when you get all these things together, you have this practice of Qigong. And I will make some differentiations during the class. So in Qigong, again, 4,000 years old, there's over 1,000, I guess maybe close to 2,000 styles being currently practiced today. But the style that we're doing is unique to this community. The style that we're doing, I'm just going to call it family style. This is family style Qigong that we do because it is trauma informed and gender expansive. So, end of the day, ADHD, let's work together. Thank you, brain. I'm sharing this because you're part of a lineage. I'm sharing this because we're co-creating a style together. And this style is really, I want to empower you fully to take these movements and run with them, or sleep with them, or nap with them, or whatever feels good for you, but to adapt it and make it your own. I think there's sometimes a conception that you have to go to the Qigong master and study for years and years, and then you are able to practice Qigong. But it's no, you can take a little bit and just refine and practice those small pieces. And I'm actually going to focus on a micro practice today, which is what I choose to call this, which can be done in 3 minutes. So this is I'm going to repeat. Sorry, can you repeat what you said before about this being trauma-informed and gender expansive? Yes. So the way that this style of Qigong, this kind of family style that I'm teaching came about, is that it addresses and explicitly addresses trauma healing. So I'm going to be using a lot of language of invitation, a lot of options, a lot of choice. And this is great for folks who are healing from trauma to rebuild a lot of self-trust and self-agency. I'm also teaching this from a gender expansive like outlook, because a lot of times Qigong and traditional Chinese medicine can get really wrapped up in binaries. So I will say this, I'm like, I'm non-binary, I'm also trans. So when they're like, men do this and women do this, I'm like, thems do what? So this practice is to be inclusive for more of us. So let me just kind of like, let's just start by checking in with our energy, because I'm sharing this to say that, again, we're part of this lineage, but this work is internal, right? Qigong can be a very personal practice. That's why I invited folks to turn off their cameras. Yeah, I see. Yes, they get real binary. I know. TCM binaries. I don't need it. But I invited folks to turn off your cameras. And actually, I'm going to invite you to like look around your room and away from your screen so that you can really orient towards your internal experience. So just checking in, I'm going to invite you, if you'd like, to keep your eyes open or closed. You can have one hand on your chest and one on your belly. And we're just going to take some deep, gentle breaths, letting our bodies settle. Perhaps our bodies still want to move, and that's okay. I just want to invite some movement if that feels good for you, or stillness. But the invitation here is just to come to rest. And the invitation as well is to notice, or perhaps begin to notice, the feeling of aliveness that runs through the center of your body, the gentle rise and fall of your belly, and perhaps the rise and fall of your chest, maybe even sensing your heartbeat inside. And as much as possible, I invite you to maybe drop your pack, lay down whatever burdens you've been carrying today, or at least know that you can put them down and pick them back up later. But perhaps give a little bit of space to remember that what you are doing right now is enough. By being here, by breathing, by existing, you are enough. There's nothing you need to prove to anyone. And I give you full permission to underperform today. Underperform, set your bar low. We're here to chill. You're gonna learn some things, but we're gonna keep it at a really comfortable amount, the right amount, whatever the right amount for you is. So just sticking with these gentle breaths. Making no rush, no urgency. You may come to find some wiggling or movement in your fingers, toes, limbs, torso. And perhaps we might find some reawakening. You're welcome to take a stretch, to move in whatever way feels good for you. This is your practice. And again, invitation just to be comfortable. Make yourself comfortable. When we're practicing Qigong, the energy that I can frame it for y'all is a combination of relaxed and aware. Relaxed and aware. We are practicing balancing relaxed awareness. So if there's parts where you feel some tension around, maybe some gripping, some bracing, I'm going to invite you to call upon that relaxed awareness and see if you can notice, be aware, but perhaps relax down into it or around it. So to check in, how are you feeling in this moment? Are there any thoughts, feelings, or sensations that you experienced or noticed during that grounding practice? And I want to let folks know that you don't have to participate in the chat to be participating in class. I don't take it personally. So feel free to use the chat at your discretion. At your discretion. If you feel it's too stimulating and you'd rather just observe, it's cool. I can sense you from afar. But if you would like to use the chat and let us know, sometimes it helps folks to connect each other's experiences. So it kind of feels like we're, in the same space together. I see feeling present. That's lovely, Nikkei. Any other thoughts, feelings, noticings? I begin class this way in part just to give us a reference point for where we're starting, because where you end will likely be different, or same, but different. But it's good to notice for us, it's just a data point. We're kind of building a conversation between our body and our mind. And for Qigong, a little bit about the words Qigong. Qi means energy. It also means air. Gong means work. So you put them together and it's that energy work. But it's not like energy work as in, I am a machine and I'm going to make this work for me, right? We have a relationship between our bodies and our minds. So when we're practicing Qigong, there's kind of some conversation happening. And when we can make that tangible or evident by naming it, by writing it down, by speaking it, or just by noticing it, what's going on in our body without judging, some of that trust gets connected, where our body is like, oh, you can listen to me and not judge me, right? Or like, you can listen to me and then attend to my needs. But that's a small reason why it's helpful in this practice to just be noticing. Just be noticing. And if you find yourself drifting away, and like I said, ADHD, I drift away sometimes a lot in Qigong, but the practice is about coming back. And if I have to come back 50 times in 3 minutes, that's still okay. Because every time it gets a little bit easier. All right. See, feeling a bit foggy and tired. I honor you feeling foggy and tired. I see feeling super overstimulated, but a bit more stable now. Thank you for sharing that, Tilly. Between foggy and overstimulated, I just wanted to name that you can also make this practice reduced in digital noise. So if you want to like turn down the brightness of your screen, again, if you want to like orient yourself away from the screen and just like pick up on some of the instructions, that's fine too. But I honor you exactly where you are. So just checking in also about sleep, because we are here talking about rest and sleep. Does anyone have a difficult time getting to sleep? I just want to kind of, again, we're just gauging the pulse in the room. You can pop a yes in the chat. Anyone have a difficult time falling asleep? I see a yes. Okay, another yes from S. Yes from Vicky and Aurelie and Alex. Okay. I see a yes, very stimulated by thoughts from Manuel. Right. Does anyone else get okay, well, I'm gonna ask this in a second, but just tagging on for the stimulated thoughts really quick. Currently going through a hard time and sleep has been more difficult. I feel you. I feel you, Vanessa. Does anybody struggle with anxiety in this group? I'm gonna put my hand up. Just say I have anxiety. Anyone resonates with that? Yes, yep, yes with exclamations. I'm seeing all the yeses now. Yup, definitely. All right. You are not alone. So this is a particularly, I like to give this practice because it's small and doable in a short time. and you can use it for anxiety during the day. Like you don't have to just use this for sleep. It makes it quite a useful practice. So just for all my anxious folks, this is for us. So just to kind of like get into our bodies a little bit and start figuring out for ourselves what this practice can be. Last week we talked a little bit about setting intentions, so I'm just going to briefly recap. I'm not going to spend too much time. There is a replay. But when we are coming into this space, and I want us to be intentional about how we're in this space, the invitation is to set a small intention for this practice. So as I mentioned, I'm going to give you a micro practice. It's like 3 minutes. You can stretch it to 5 if you want, but it can be done in 3. If you would like to set an intention of how you plan or intend to use this practice, the invitation is to name it and claim it before you even get into it. And you don't have to share it in the chat, though you may. But the intention helps us have some follow through. Because if I teach you these things, but you have to be dependent on the screen or myself to deliver it to you, then the practice kind of is limited. And the beautiful thing about Qigong is that it blossoms when done regularly. It's like a plant, it's like a flower. And if you can nurture and water and tend to it a little bit every day, or even once a week, whatever that periodicity is that works for you, we can bring it into our lives in a consistent way. That energy work begins to move mountains. And I will share this again because I'm also anxious. I also have ADHD. I've had a lot of difficulty with sleep. I used to get really terrible nightmares. I also have trauma. I also have, I guess you could call it like some shade of CPTSD or PTSD. I don't know. Point being, I found the benefits of Qigong to be profoundly impactful because after 2 weeks of doing regular Qigong, 2 weeks, 14 days, practicing once a day, I accidentally healed from addiction. Accidentally? How do you accidentally heal from addiction, Harmony? Literally, I didn't plan to stop smoking weed, but I just stopped and I was surprised. I still love drugs. I still love cannabis, but my relationship to it is quite different now. So I share that because Qigong helps us resource ourselves in a way that our other coping, maybe the coping, the anxiety, the thoughts, the restlessness that keep us up, they kind of start to dissolve, or maybe their hold is less strong. But I will also say, if you do this class once and that's all there is to it, that's totally fine and valid, but there are benefits to being consistent. So intention setting. Does anyone have any intentions that they would like to share for today? And if you don't want to share, that's totally fine. I invite you to just bring that intention to yourself. I'm going to create my own little intention for this practice and just silently speak it into my heart. P.S. I got this really cute mug at the thrift store. I just wanted to show it off. It's so fun. Big grandma energy. Huge grandma energy today. So seeing no intentions from the chat, that's totally good. I'd like to kind of pivot and bring in the practice. So for today's practice, as I mentioned, it's a micro practice. And I'm going to begin by sharing that we can do this together and you can participate as little or as much as you would like. So I'm going to call this the 3 Bs. 3 Bs. 3 Bs practice. I see an intention and I'd actually like to name and address it really quick just so that I can witness this person, who I'm very fond of and I love dearly. Hi. I'd like to create the intention to let the chi flow to the parts of my body that need it most, that are hurting the most and that are the hardest to love. Oh. Well, if anybody else resonates with what S just said, this practice is to send that energy, to move it, and to just send it. All of you is worthy of love. All of you. There's no part of you that's ugly. There's no part of you that's unworthy. Every single part of you is worthy of love. So today's practice is for that. So the 3 B's stand for bubble magic. Some of you know this. Bubble magic, brush, and bear hug. So we're going to do this practice together, and it's going to take 3 minutes. Bubble magic looks like this. Some of y'all know this because you're my alumni, but you're going to get your imaginary bubble wand. You're going to need your imagination, so just pull it in. Bring your imaginary bubble wand. We're going to blow an imaginary bubble. I'm going to invite you to visualize, what does that bubble look like? Is it colorful? What shape is it? What kind of space does it fill? But the invitation is to bring in a big, long exhale, a smooth exhale. Relaxed, but aware that we are moving in choice, that we are creating an action. And continue this bubble magic. Maybe 2 more breaths. No rushes here. Relaxed awareness, just relaxed awareness. And still maintaining the energy of this breath, we're going to brush down the front of our bodies. And I'm going to come up a little bit just so you can see. I'm just brushing down my center line, making contact roughly from my collarbone down to maybe my belly. And this brushing can be done even in front of you on the air. So for folks who are feeling overstimulated and touch is too stimulating, that's okay. You can do this without touch. Connecting with that bubble magic breath, brushing down. And if you want to imagine here that you're brushing off any dust or energy, any cords that maybe got stuck to you, some of that energetic static from the day. Since it is the end of the day for us and we are cultivating some rest, it's nice to just reclaim our energy and leave what's not ours. You can brush it off. If you'd like to adapt this and sweep down the arms, you can also do that as well. Slowly, with control, relaxed, and aware. And if you're feeling satisfied, if you feel like this is enough, the invitation is to move into that 3rd B, which is that big bear hug. Wrap your arms around you in whatever way feels natural, and just hold ourselves. The invitation here is to have your eyes open or closed, whatever feels good. We're keeping with that bubble magic breath as if we're blowing bubbles still. Perhaps finding some settling down and back. And that is the 3-minute micro practice. Ta-da, we did it. So we're going to kind of build off of this micro practice, but I really wanted us to start here because throughout your day, you can do this. You can do this at the beginning of the day. You can do this at the end of the day. You can do this when you come home from work. You can do this before you start work. You can do this in your car. You can do this in bed, literally anywhere, right? And it's 3 minutes. It's 3 minutes. It's quite small. But I'd love to hear from you if you feel like sharing, or if you're just enjoying this vibe and you're like, oh my God, sleeps. That's totally fine too. But the invitation is to just check in. I just hear from you. How are you feeling? This practice land? Is there anything that I can support you in? I see. Thank you, Harmony. I have to go early tonight, but I feel much more embodied to face the rest of my evening. Thanks for coming by, Vicky. Thanks for sharing that time. I see. I feel so soothed. Bye, Vicky. Brian, I'm glad you feel soothed. Yeah, just any other noticings. Is there any feelings in your body? The brushing centered me surprisingly fast. Ooh, yeah. Somebody from last week was like, the brushing's my favorite. So just to share a little bit of like why this is such an effective technique. So I do primarily teach self-defense. The brushing, who else was like a fan of the brushing? We're just gonna talk about the brushing right now. If you're team brushing, I have some neuroscience for you. Also the brushing. So I'm going to tie together self-defense and neuroscience, and I promise it's going to make sense. But self-defense side, the center line of our bodies is kind of the core of what self-defense practices are trying to protect. So in any martial art, any style, you have a center line. It's right here, roughly from the top of your head down to your torso. It's where all your vital organs are. When we get scared, we tend to brace around them. This is natural instinct, but our center line is important. When we make contact with our center line, and that touch is affirming and gentle and soothing, it's sending a signal to our subconscious that we're protected. And we begin to feel safer. So this is kind of an aspect of self-defense. Now going into the neuroscience side of it, because again, this Qigong practice is trauma-informed. When we're creating a gentle rhythm by brushing, right? There's like a regularity to it. Our bodies love rhythm. I also teach dance. We love rhythm. It's really good for us. It's stable, it's regulating, and it can soothe us very quickly. It's also doing something called bilateral stimulation. So especially if you take it down the arms. Bilateral stimulation is a big fancy word, just meaning that you're using both halves of your body. Bi meaning both, and lateral meaning the lateral sides. Stimulation meaning that it's engaged, stimulated. But this is also really nourishing for our nervous system, because when we are putting together rhythm and bilateral stimulation, it usually means that we're safe. It usually means that we're safe. It usually means that we're safe and in community, right? So our bodies are picking up on this and they're going like, I can chill. This is nice. This is nice. This is nice. I like this. We're here for this. And I'm curious to ask, did anybody find some usefulness out of that bubble magic breath? Anyone team bubble magic? I'm team bubble magic. I'm gonna tell you all about bubble magic in just a second. Because right now, actually, our brains are kind of in a good place to learn. When we're feeling safe and regulated, our executive function and our creativity comes back online, and we are more likely, more adept, more accessible to learning new things. Hey, team bubble magic. Let me tell you about bubble magic really quick. And Vicky had to leave early, but Vicky's one of my alumni as well. Oh, Loretta, team bubble magic. I said, like the breathing, the imagining, and the feeling of a memory. Yes, engaging in that kind of inner child work can be really helpful this too. I see my car just came over and I instinctively started brushing her and it sparked an, oh yeah, that makes sense. Oh, your cat. Okay, your cat came over, not your car. Yes, brushing. Yes, pets love the brushing for similar reasons, right? But bubble magic is doing something really cool. Okay, let me connect these dots. I was talking about Vicky. So Vicky's one of my alumni. Vicky is also a parent to a young child. Vicky's child takes zero bullshit, very honest. And Vicky told me that the only thing that will soothe their child during a meltdown, like an emotional meltdown, is bubble magic. So if you have kids, if you work with youth, if you work with anyone, but particularly kids, I invite you to use this. Steal it, take it. It's free. And this practice is for you to move and carry, right? And the reason that bubble magic works so profoundly, you want to do it with me, just kind of re-experience that. When we have that deep exhale, it changes the position of our diaphragm and allows us to take more belly breaths. Sometimes we hear like, you should breathe from your belly. And it's like, I know it's good for me, but why? It's moving your, something called the vagus nerve. And there's a nerve that goes from your gut up to your brain. And when we take belly breaths, the vagus nerve goes, ooh, yay, you're breathing from me. Awesome. And it tells the brain that we're safe. That's roughly small neuroscience of polyvagal theory. But it's also doing something else. Did anyone notice something about your heart rate when you did bubble magic? Just curious. Did anyone notice any heart rate stuff? This isn't a gotcha question. Your heart might be doing a million things. I have no idea, but I'm just curious. Feels slower. I see Ryan says feels slower. And that's actually, you're kind of on target. The deep exhale slows down our heart rate. So if anyone, as I asked before, has anxiety, I see faster at first and then slow down. You might notice it picks up a little bit because that big breath in kind of starts it. But keeping with that bubble magic does slow it down. So this is profoundly helpful for folks with anxiety. So if you're having trouble going to sleep, if you're having a lot of thoughts, if your brain feels kind of like crowded and it's like running around a lot, that long exhale can help us bring down the panic. And it also works really well at soothing, preventing, or just tending to panic attacks. And just lightly, I'm just going to ask this. Does anybody struggle with panic attacks? It's okay to say yes, and you don't have to say anything at all if it's like, I don't even want to talk about it. But if you struggle with panic attacks, I highly recommend keep this one in your toolkit, whether it's for rest or during the day. Be very helpful. So I wanted to just kind of check in. I see sometimes panic attacks. That little 3 minutes, yeah. You're not alone. You're in the right place. So this little practice that we did, this micro practice, I timed it. It was 3 minutes, right? We can take it one by one and say like, I just want to focus on bubble magic and I'm just going to do it when I'm feeling anxious. Cool, that's valid, right? Because Qigong can be a system. It can be like, I put these together and I do them as a sequence. But Qigong can also be modular, which is actually why I enjoy teaching it. You can take these one techniques and that is what Qigong practice might be for you. And that's totally cool, right? But because we can build it, we can kind of make our own medicine. And sometimes in class, I like to say this is like, you're allowed to share your meds, meaning that in this class, you can share what's working for you. You're making a medicine right now. This Qigong is your medicine. You might be adding some flavor to it. You might be adding some of your own herbs. You might be putting it into a sequence, making a little prescription for yourself that feels good. But you can share your meds. You can tell people. You can tell us in the chat. Nobody else has to take your medicine though. that you're allowed to share. So adding on from this micro practice, I wanted to ask, do you have any questions? Is there anything that we can make medicine for? Is there anything that you'd like some support with? Because we have a good foundation. We have the 3 Bs, bubbles, brushing, and big hug. Bear hug. I like bear hug. We can add to it. So what would help this practice maybe feel more practical for you? Is there anything that you would like support with? I'll also mention the support that I can provide is ideas and some techniques. This isn't a space for processing, so I can't help you process what you're feeling. However, we can make medicine for some of these situations, feelings, sensations that we're moving with. And actually, if folks don't feel like asking for support here, that's totally fine. I do have one that I'd like to share with you. And maybe I'll backtrack just barely. What we just did, that little sequence of 3, sometimes I say that's kind of more Qigong than Qigong, right? So like the ancestors 4,000 years ago didn't go like, hey, this is dope, check out this bow wand, right? They didn't say that. I said that. So it's a little bit more Qigong than Qigong, but it's still done with the energy of the Qigong practice. It's sending energy, stimulating that movement through our body. And I like to give something maybe a little bit traditional, a little bit more traditional. And share another practice that might be helpful if you are trying to release some of that anxious energy before bed. Okay, so as folks mentioned, sometimes it's hard to like go to sleep because our brains are racing. So if you'd like to do this, you can. So if you'd like to imagine maybe if you struggle staying asleep or waking up in the middle of the night, perhaps you just woke up and it's 3 a.m. and you're like, what do I do? Right? I see during restlessness and states of panic, it's hard to move away from my thought fixation, influencing my turbulent feelings, which keeps me from self-soothing or co-soothing. I totally understand. It's a hard spot to be in. It's a hard spot to be in. Once our brains latch onto that idea, that anxiety can spiral. And nature loves a spiral, right? They're very self-sustaining. But we don't love anxiety spirals because they keep us up at night. Yes, how to release anxious energy, physical symptoms of discomfort, and the thoughts with it. Great. Okay, cool. So we're going to be talking about ways to like work with our anxious thoughts. And I just want to normalize something really quick. It's okay to have anxiety, right? It doesn't mean you're doing Qigong wrong. It's okay to have these thoughts pop up. And I'm going to remind just like gently, the intention here is just to practice it. And if you have to stray and come back every single time, that's totally okay. It doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. As long as you are feeling good, as long as this is serving you in some way, that's what we're trying to get at here. But when we're feeling anxious, our bodies can be responding to any number of things, but they tend to be responding to things in the past or the future. Anxiety likes to latch onto things that it can't change but already happened and we're replaying it, or things that are in the future that we don't know. And one of the best practices for anxiety is to come into the present. And the ways that we can come into the present is through our sensations. Our sensations are present. I can't feel what I was feeling yesterday. That feeling is already gone, but I can feel what I'm feeling now. And that means that I'm present. That means that I'm here in this moment. So for this practice, it's going to get a little weird. So enjoy and perhaps just see how this lands. The invitation, if you're feeling anxious, is to actually get up and move. So I'm going to do this with you, right? I'm going to actually stand up. I told you I'm in a bathrobe. I wasn't lying. Stand up. We can stand up and move. We can shift. We can move in whatever way feels good. You might notice, okay, I'm feeling some tension in the back of my neck. I want to twist. I want to move. That's fine. You can look around your space. I invite you to give your brain something to look for by noticing a color. Just notice a color. The key word here is to notice, not remember. We're not trying to remember where all the green things in our house are. We're actually trying to see them with fresh eyes. So if you picked green, I don't know, green is an arbitrary color. I have a flower in front of me, so that's what I'm looking at. Just noticing it in as many places as we can. Again, we're trying to come to the present. Trying to come to the present. And your anxiety might go like, no, but that thing. It's okay. We're like, well, no, hold on. Hold down, anxiety. I hear you, but we're going to look for some colors right now, right? We're not ignoring our thoughts. We're listening to the information they're trying to tell us, because usually we're getting at something that's an unmet need. Simmering beneath the surface of those anxious thoughts is perhaps an unmet need. And when we can become present, we have more access to our creativity, to our listening, our active listening. I don't want to be audist here, so I'm going to say like to our engaged ability to take in information. And that comes from the present. The presence is protective. I see you said green right as most of my skeleton lights turn green. The chi is strong. Way to do it. Yes, noticing those colors, wherever it is. Wherever it is. Right? This is a mindfulness technique. But perhaps we find all those colors and then we can kind of check in with ourselves. How do I feel? Did that give my anxiety something to do that was productive? That was, I don't even want to say productive. That sounds like we're assigning it value. Did it give it something to do that was present? So as we're doing this practice, right, we notice those colors, we moved, we're listening to our anxiety, but we're not following it. We're just listening, engaged, aware, we're aware of it. So then we can bring in perhaps some sensation. After we've did that little part, you can tag on that micro practice. So if you're feeling anxious before bed, okay, I looked around. I'm like feeling, noticing colors in my space. You might feel like doing that bubble magic. You might feel like brushing. You might feel like holding. You might feel like sipping some tea. So when we connect with our senses, such as taste, that's also present, right? I can only taste what I am tasting in this moment. And I invite you to really taste, like to as if you've never tasted this water before, tasted this tea. See how much awareness you can bring to it. Awareness that's not about, again, the past or the future, but the present, because that's where our life is. This is where we live, in the present. And I'm going to just share a small story, because I did this practice with a dear friend of mine over the weekend. Their name is Ash. They're a dental hygienist. They work at 3 dental practices across LA. 3. They're driving and commuting a huge amount. They're exhausted. They're exhausted. And they haven't been able to sleep. So I actually got inspired to make this class for them. So this is for you, Ash. But we did this micro practice together to give them some resource for when they're unable to fall back asleep at 3 in the morning and they're staring at the ceiling. or when they're anxious about the next day, they can come to the present. So there's a lot of application here, and maybe it'll fit into your life in some elegant way. But for those anxious thoughts, right? I want to give us one more thing. And it's actually this. So if you want to start rubbing your hands together, this is part of what's called the Qigong or the Tai Chi Ball Exercise. So if you want to rub your hands together, rub them together really fast. We're creating heat. This is another sensation, right? Heat generated. All this energy that you don't want because you're trying to go to bed. We're going to shake. We're going to shake off our hands. Shake, shake, shake. Almost like you're air drying your hands after washing them. This can be as big or as small as you would like. Just make it natural, make it feel good for you. If you have mobility only in one hand, that's fine. You don't have to use both. But this is just to like shake off. And once we find some satisfaction there, we're going to bring our palms to face each other. And I'm going to come up a little bit just so you can see. I'm going to hold my hands right in front of my navel. And you might feel some light buzzing in the palms of your hands. That is your chi. And if you'd like to just smooth, rotate, or hold your energy, you can. This is your energy. This is your energy. And you have full sovereignty over your energy. You have sovereignty over your energy. Remember to breathe. Bubble magic breaths are very helpful here. Just noticing the space between your hands. And movement is welcome. Maintaining that presence, that relaxed awareness, that bubble magic breath. You have full permission to engage in your energy in whatever way feels good. Perhaps finding some stillness, some reflection. And here's the important part. We're going to connect with some gratitude. And holding your energy ball, the invitation is to say a thank you. Express gratitude to your energy for doing so much, for moving mountains every day, keeping you alive, for being such a beautiful extension of the universe, part of it. As we say thank you, the invitation is to release this energy back into your space in whatever way feels good for you. I'm going to gently move my hands apart as if this energy ball is getting bigger, like a balloon, and then maybe it just opens up and spills. If you'd like to take your arms a big overhead, you can. You don't have to. We come back down. At this point, your hands have a lot of chi, a lot of energy in them. So for folks, I noticed some pain. Someone mentioned, what do I do with pain and discomfort? You might want to, or invitation here, right? You may consider moving your hands towards any spot on your body that feels like it could use some nourishment. This will help stimulate chi flow in that area. Again, we just called it forth. We made medicine just now. It's on your hands. If you wanted to apply that bear hug, sending some energy to your heart space down here, the sides of your shoulders, that containment over here, that might be nice as well. Folks like that option. But you can also take it as a self-massage. If anyone struggles with tension in their face, you can move your hands to touch your body. Or you don't have to make contact, right? So if you want to place your hands around an area, like if you have a headache, you place your hand on either side, that's fine. You can hover above and see what you feel, right? But we have many options because your energy is your energy and you are sovereign over it. So you get to make that choice. And since we're coming up on time, and I like to make sure that my classes end on time, the invitation is to continue moving very slowly, very gently, all that relaxed awareness as we transition into the evening or into whatever time zone you're in, the next phase of your day after this class. See if we can continue that. Our chi flow is moving in a very specific way right now, and we can carry that with us. We can carry that with us. It might get disrupted, but we can come back, right? But if there's any, I guess, check-ins for the end of class. How are you feeling? How is your energy feeling? Anything you noticed, anything you learned that you found particularly helpful? This is the time to share if you feel called to. Or in my fan fiction imagination of this, everyone fell asleep. Okay, maybe not. Love the visual of letting go of the energy ball. Yeah, I think it's a good reminder that this is that spiritual aspect of Qigong where we're creating a relationship with our energy, but we're also sharing it, right? It's natural to just kind of release and then bring it in. I see. I feel extra sensational, but not overly stimulated. Ooh, great balance. Great balance there. I'm glad you shared that. I'm glad you feel sensational. What a lovely word. I see. Thank you so much. I really settled into my body and energy in a way I've never done before. Wow. Wow. I'm so honored. I needed this so much. I'm so happy for you, Nikkei. That's so amazing. Cheers to you. Cheers to you, friend. I'm glad this practice benefited you. And I'm glad that we got to share this experience as a community. Thank you so much for being here. I wish you all peaceful rest, great sleep. I see you really appreciated this practice and sharing. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Loretta. This was so special. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. I hope this practice serves you well. Again, the 3 Bs, they're for you anytime. I'll be teaching again tomorrow at 10 a.m. But I'll have some more Qigong stuff happening in December. So if you're like, I want more classes, or like, I'm ready for my next one, send me an email. But like, it's bedtime, y'all. We don't have to worry about that now. I see, I feel warm, which is not a tiny feat for me. Oh, yay, warm. Yes, that's great. Thank you. This was lovely. Oh, that's wonderful. I see. Thank you for sharing. Oh, thank you, Arlie and Alex. All right. Thank you so much, y'all. I'll catch you soon. I'll be sending an email with the replay, and love you so much. Take care of the rest of your night. Bye, y'all.